Okay, so it's been a couple of days since the election, and I personally just need a couple of days to process and just really take in things. I know this is a time for a lot of people to be mourning, and there's a lot of people that are very happy and overjoyed, and there's a lot of people that are just done with this whole thing. I'm an astrologer, so I will talk about what I think is important to pay attention to, but for now, I just kind of want to talk and ramble a little bit. When I saw that Trump had taken the presidency, right, I wasn't really shocked because I live here in the South. I live in Texas. And for every blue city, there's like 10 red little cities or towns or whatever. So it's not that big of a shocker. I was pretty aware that it wouldn't be that far fetched in seeing Trump win. And I'm personally not a political astrologer, so I didn't look much to it, but I did follow a lot of astrologers that, said that Kamala was going to win, and they're still holding out for, until January, until the inauguration, basically. So I was a little shocked that Kamala was not the outright winner. There was a few people that said that either Trump was going to win outright or there's going to be a contingent election, which did not happen. But overall, I'm not too shocked. What I do feel is not necessarily mourning, but more of a grief stage for the collective. I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days, and it's not that I'm indifferent to what happened. That's not true. It's more that I'm personally looking at it from a higher view, right? And I'm sure a lot of us are getting to that point or have been in that position already where we should know at this point that this system is not working, right? The two-party system does not work, has not been working. And this just proves that it's not going to work. It will continue not to work. And the longer we play the game, it's just, we're not, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? Nothing's going to change. Obviously, we do the same thing will happen again, right? It's insanity to think otherwise. But what I'm personally grieving is the fact that the collective, us as people, are so divided and are so hung up on our own personal salvation that we cannot step out and see the bigger picture. We cannot see other people's point of views. We cannot reason with each other. We cannot just let go of something that you have done before because that's what you've always been doing, right? Watching these political videos of people interviewing each other, I saw a lot of people that have always voted red and they will continue to do so. A lot of people voting blue and they will continue to do so. And a lot of people that, not a lot of people, smaller minorities, but it's a small minority of people that will not even vote or didn't vote because they simply do not believe in the two-party system. So they just opt to not even engage, right? I'm not saying that any of that is wrong. What I'm trying to say is that us playing the game will never work. I feel like I'm personally feeling all of the anger, all of the sadness, all of the just intense energy that was just emitted during the election. Because you got to think a lot of people are putting a lot of intentions towards who they want to win or how they feel about it. Everything was really big around this election. There's a lot of energy going around. And I personally don't really feel like too much energy from people, but I am feeling it. I'm still feeling it. I'm waking up very, very low energetic and just going about my day like everything is kind of like pointless, which I know it's not. It's only pointless if we continue to do the same thing and not change it, right? Now, this is where the astrology comes in. The most important thing that I will go into this video is Pluto and Aquarius. I have talked about Pluto and Aquarius in previous videos, but I cannot express how important this planet's change, changing from Capricorn to Pluto is going to be. The election took place when Pluto went back into Capricorn, right? It's like we're revisiting old structures, and Pluto's all about just showing where the corruption is and just showing where all the rotten things are that are not working. And this is going to be more of an obvious flag of how shit is just not working, right? We voted a president that has been in office before. Nothing has really changed. And if we had gone with the opposite person, there's probably a high likelihood that in the long run things were not going to change, right? Because at the end of the day, the system itself is not changing, it's not working, it's clearly not helping all of us here, right? A lot of astrologers talk about Pluto and Aquarius being about changes in technology and all that stuff, and yes, that is correct. Obviously, that, nothing bad about that. But what I want to focus on is Aquarius is always the sign of the people, right? The people and how we are as a society. Aquarius is the sign of the other. It's the sign about either rejecting those that do not fit within your little mold, or you yourself rejecting the norm, right? So either way, it's you versus them. It's about you versus the other, whatever the other is. And that is the key thing that I think we should all keep in mind, right? I don't know if you guys have seen this, right? If you're on the side of TikTok where you see the divide between different groups. I see a lot of talk of women trying to, decenter men. There's this movement about decentering men because we're just, we've had it with the treatment of women and how we're just not treated like human beings, that we rather not engage with men. So now we have a battle of the sexes, of man and women, right? Separate. The biggest one that most people know about or care more about or talk about is the wealth gap, right? The rich versus the poor. And that is going to be emphasized. Then we also talk about minorities, white people versus minorities, us versus them versus us. And it can even go down into little subsections in between it, right? A lot of the rhetoric I saw here was a lot of women of color expressing their just anger towards white women, right? White women being the majority that voted for Trump, right? And then it just creates a divide between women in itself. So there's a lot of us versus them in bigger scales, and there's a lot of us versus them in smaller scales. And that's what Pluto is going to show, emphasize, and just expand. Anything that's corrupt can be or can be divided, it's going to get worse. Like, I'm not trying to be one of those fear mongering astrologers. I try so hard not to be that. But it's like when a lot of astrologers knew that 2020 COVID stuff was going to be really, really bad, but nobody wanted to be that astrologer to be like, oh, like, I don't want to fear monger this and this and that. And a lot of them had regrets, right? So I think this is a time to really keep emphasizing that the astrology that's coming up from 2025 and onward is not going to be pretty. It's not going to be smooth sailing. It's just honestly just going to get worse. And even just here in the United States, we can already see what are the topics that we're going to touch upon, right? And Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for about 19 years, 19, 20 years. That's a long freaking time. So I guess all I'm trying to say is that don't buy into the us versus them rhetoric. Yes, some of it is important for sure. I'm not saying like, oh, don't disagree with someone that, treats you like crap or doesn't believe in your rights. No. What I'm trying to say is that if we keep focusing on who the other is, we're never going to fix things, because we need to focus on what is dividing us, right? Like, what kind of system do we need to overthrow? Do we need to change? Do we need to keep pushing for? This is a time of rebellion. This is a time of just going out there and really putting your voice. This is not the time to just be complacent, and this is not the time to just sit around and do nothing, right? There's something out there that will affect you. And if you do not say anything, you do not stand up, you do not fight for those that do not have a voice that you care and love about, it's just going to get so much worse. We need to step up, and we need to look around and see the bigger picture. Aquarius is all about rebellion and overthrowing things that do not work. So just please keep that in mind.